Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jordan from PictureMonk.com, and welcome to another podcast. Been a while, guys. Hadn't recorded a podcast in a while. Just been busy doing a whole bunch of other photography things. Hadn't had time to sit down and get some podcasts going. So for this one, I'm going to kind of go back to my roots. And I know that kind of sounds weird because I'm not even 100 episodes deep. But my roots were just kind of talking about stuff that I kind of go through when I'm taking photos. As you can tell by the name of the podcast, it's 5 things I do while taking a photo. Next week, the next podcast I do is actually going to be 5 things I do while I'm editing a photo. So it's kind of a 2-parter, but not really, because I don't want to make it a 2-parter, because then I feel like I have to record one that's really long and all that stupid stuff. So in this podcast, I'm going to go over the 5 things I do while taking a photo. They're all, they all happen in like milliseconds of each other. But it's, it's kind of fun to think about. And if you guys have a process that you normally do when taking photos, send me an email about it, post comments on the video, post on the PictureMonk Nation Facebook page, become a member of the page if you're not, and just have fun with it. Photography is all about having fun and sharing information, and that's kind of what we're all doing here. So that sounds like something that we all should gather up and just, share experiences, basically. So the first thing I want to get into is a video that I found. It's actually a video from May of 2016, so earlier this year, and it's from Chase Jarvis. If you don't know who he is, he's a famous photographer, been all over the place, been on news networks and all this kind of stuff. But he released a video back then, and it was called "The Dirtiest Secret in Photography." This is kind of considered, I guess, the news portion of the podcast. I know stuff was released recently, like the 5D Mark IV was released. I talked about that previously. The DJI came out with their own drone, and then GoPro came out with their own drone. Then DJI came out with another one right after that. So that's news, and so you're going to hear that on every other photography podcast you talk about. So I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to talk about cool stuff that I find. And so I found this video, and it was kind of one of those videos where you see the clickbait title and you wonder if it's going to be a good video. And so I clicked on it, watched about 3 minutes of it, and I was like, I'm about to shut this off. And then I started actually really listening to it, and not just thinking that this was another one of those guys making a video for YouTube and, had to put something out, and this is what he chose. So, it's a really good video. I don't want to give a whole lot of it away because I want you to actually go and watch it and listen to it and really, really listen to it. If you're a very creative person, if you want to be a creative person, it's not even just about photography. It's about being different. I'll at least say that. It's about being different in your craft. And one thing that this video led me towards is what's called the 30 Days of Genius videos. And it's almost like a show, basically. And it's where Chase interviews a couple guys that's not necessarily in the photography industry, but it's just creative people all around. And one of the ones he actually talked about in the video was Seth Godin. And Seth Godin is just a business genius. And what he did in the interview that he was talking about was just separating yourself from everyone else. When it comes to photography or anything, think what it looks like to be on the other side of the coin when you're trying to think of stuff to do. So, the way it relates to photography is, what should your website look like when people come to it? Should it look like every other person's website? How should you differentiate it from that? Maybe look at a different industry and see what they do and see what stuff you can kind of incorporate in your stuff. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. I'm not necessarily succeeded at it, I guess, but I'm trying to do that when it comes to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to put out videos about different things, not just like, here's how to set the ISO on your camera or something, something like that. I'm trying not to do that stuff. Yeah, I'm going to put it out there because it's more content that needs to be out there, but the majority of stuff I want to do is different. So, I've been posting more mimic videos where I show different ways of editing styles and give away stuff to you guys. Method videos, just showing another editing style of how I edit and how different that is. doing videos of on location videos where I show you where I'm going and what I'm shooting, yeah, other people do that, but I'll even show you the crappiest little place if I can, if I have approval. I'll show you the crappiest little place photographing, and you can kind of see even the struggles of that. It's not all Bahamas when you're taking photos. So yeah, it's a really great video. It'll lead you into the YouTube wormhole of really awesome videos. So go check that out. It is on the website as usual, picturemonk.com/PMP068. And you can check that out there. Okay, and since I've done question and answer podcast a little bit recently, I wanted to go ahead and bring back the listener questioner. I can't even say it. Listener question of the week. It's been that long, I can't even say it. And this one is from, her name is Beth, and I'm not even going to pretend to know how to pronounce the last name. I'll just spell it Anxurra. I have no idea who that is, how you spell that, but you know who you are who sent this in. But Beth wrote, I have noticed that you have almost 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. How did you grow your channel, and what advice would you give to someone starting a channel? Yeah, that's actually a good thing. I don't know when you wrote this. Let me check real quick. You wrote this 2 days ago. So, yeah, I'm almost approaching upon 1,000 subscribers, which is really awesome. I know there's YouTube subscribers out there that have millions of subscribers, and that's kind of cool too. But I started a YouTube channel basically just to host my videos so I can put them on my site. And yeah, they were going to get discovered at some point. People were going to look at them, a couple views here and there. But yeah, I didn't think I would hit 1,000. And I don't even know what 2,000 is going to look like, even if I get that far. So yeah, I'm getting 1,000, which is kind of cool. Hopefully I think I'm like 20 left before 1,000. So hopefully get a couple more. But yeah, advice for how did I grow my channel? First of all, how did I grow my channel? It was not anything, like I said, I didn't really plan on growing a channel. I wanted to host a video, and that was the only free service that I could find where, it's famous. Everybody visits YouTube. It's got a whole bunch of views. So I put my videos there and just to put them on my website. And so I didn't really plan on having a whole lot of subscribe. Yeah, I wanted people to subscribe if they wanted to, but I didn't really plan on that. So number one, don't plan on that happening, because most likely if you want it to happen like that, it's not going to happen. And then what advice would you give? It's taken, I started this website, PictureMonk stuff, how many years ago? 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, something like that. And it took this long to get 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, people grow real fast. It's a thing. When you're on YouTube, you can grow real fast, or you can grow not at all. And I just happened to have a couple subscribers every day here and there, and that's how it got to 1,000. So if you don't be in a hurry to do anything, because it's not ever good for you. You're going to get discouraged way more. You're going to get discouraged way faster than you will get success, basically. So that's one of the main advice that I would give. And I'm not saying 1,000 subscribers is success, but it's a small victory in my mind that I have almost 1,000 subscribers that wanted to constantly be updated on my content. So that's kind of fun. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast here, and that is the topic of 5 things I do while taking a photo. And so number one is probably going to be like a gimme. I mean, I shouldn't even really wrote this down, but number one is look around. And that's all, guys. That's the podcast. Just look around, you'll be fine. Look around. So looking around means, kind of finding the angles, finding the content that you want to put out there, finding details that you want to make sure you photograph later. That old adage of, when you're walking someplace, always look behind you, always look up, always look down, that sort of thing. Just look around. I'm always looking. I find myself, even when I'm taking a photo and I'm composing for this particular scene, I'm even looking while I'm looking through the viewfinder of what I could photograph next. So it's almost like in a way I could be hurting myself, but it's almost like I'm not concentrating on the shot right then, but the 1 or 2 shots that I want to do later, and I want to make sure I hit those before I move on. And so that's kind of, I guess it could be hurrying myself a little bit. But it's just as simple as just making sure you look around. I mean, if you're walking towards, who said something about that? I can't remember who said something, but somebody was photographing fireworks. I believe it was somebody's photographing fireworks, and everybody had their camera pointed at the fireworks. But one guy had his camera pointed at the fireworks, and then he said that, once you photograph a couple fireworks, they're all the same. So everybody's getting pretty much the same photo, maybe better quality here and there, but they're pretty much getting the same photo. And so what he did is he took his camera off the tripod and walked back, 50 feet, 80 feet, somewhere around there, and then took another photo. And so not only did he get fireworks in his photo, but he got context in his photo. He got more information in his photo than just a firework. He got the people looking at the fireworks. He got reflections of the fireworks in the cars. He got just all kinds of stuff in his photo that, if he didn't look around at and pay attention to his surroundings, he wouldn't even thought about. He just wanted to get photos of fireworks. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about is, just look around. I feel like even though this is kind of common sense, taking the picture takes a millisecond, but I feel like I take more time walking around looking, and then conversely more time editing than I do actually thinking about the photo I'm taking now. So, walk around, check the photo, don't be afraid to put your camera up to your face and check the composition of the photo, not even take a photo, just put it up to your face and just check and see if it looks good to you. And that's a really big thing. All right, number 2 is think about what the photo would be used for. And so this is kind of when I'm talking about photographing details and stuff. When I think about what the photo would be used for, if let's say I want it to be a contender for a magazine or a magazine cover or something like that. This is not something that always means something when it comes to magazines, stuff like that. But think about a magazine; it's portrait orientation, and so if you really want to send a photo, if you're out looking for a photo to send into a magazine to be featured on a cover or inside a story or something like that, maybe try a couple portrait photos, just portrait orientated photos to fit that, because sometimes, and this happens more often than you would think, some editors could actually refuse a photo. It would be a great photo, but they would refuse it because it won't fit properly on what they're trying to put it on. So, if you have a really awesome up close picture of, I don't know, a mountain goat, I have no idea, but you have a really up close picture and then they put it on the front cover, and it's landscape orientation, and they have to try to fit it in the portrait. If it doesn't crop well, if it doesn't fit well, they're not going to use it. They're going to try to find somebody else who would fit and who would, what composition would look better on that magazine. And so it's the same way with your website. I try to stay away, and this is kind of a thing with me, I got to work out, but I try to stay away from portrait-orientated photos. Now that I'm thinking of that scenario, I try to stay away from those because I don't like the way they look on my website. And so my camera is always in landscape orientation. I do need to take more portrait-orientated photos because you can get better compositions that way in certain scenarios, but I need to really think about that when I'm going through taking a photo. I just because I don't like the way they look on my website doesn't mean I don't like the way the photo looks. And so think about what it's going to be used for. That's kind of something that, you're not just taking a photo, or you shouldn't be just trying to take a photo. You're trying to take a photo that would give an impact and be used and be shared. And just try to think about how it would be put out in the world and not just sitting on your desktop or whatever and you liking the photo. All right, number 3 is settings, and that's kind of a general one. I didn't really want to talk about settings as much because they really don't. They matter, but they don't really matter. But settings, I'm gonna give you guys a little secret inside my photography, and this is how technical of a person I am when it comes to photography. When I go to a place, This is the extent of my settings, and I might get a lot of flack for this from other like quote unquote real photographers. But what I do is no, don't think about it. I'm not putting it in automatic mode. But what I do mainly is put it in mine in aperture priority mode, and if I'm taking a picture of a person, I'm going to stop it down all the way. I'm going to stop it down to I'm going to put it to f4, f3.5, somewhere like that. I'm not going to pay attention to, I want a little bit more background in my photos. I want to, that kind of thing. So maybe I need to go to f5, f7, somewhere around, I don't know. Maybe I need to try. No, I'm not going to think about that. I just want a blurred out background. That's all I want. And same thing with landscapes. When I go to take a landscape, I'm not caring about, I need hyperfocal distance and I need all of this stuff. No, I'm going to put it in aperture priority mode. I'm going to take it to f16 maybe, if I get real crazy, f22, but I rarely ever go to f22. And that's a whole thing with the full frame camera. It's still soft and all that. I don't know. It's a whole bunch of junk. But I'm going to set it to f16, f11, somewhere around there. Just get a decent aperture and take my photo. Make sure my ISO is as low as it can go to still let me handhold if I'm doing that, or tripod. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to take the photo. That's the extent. Oh, let me make sure. Take my lens cap off. I've done that plenty of times and it's not good. So yeah, take my lens cap off, then take the photo. And so that's the extent of my settings. I don't really mess with settings. I mean, yeah, I know how to shoot in manual mode. It's not that hard. I know how to, change my exposure if I need to. Like if I'm shooting into the sun and I still want a little more, light on my subject, then I need to overexpose it a little bit, or I need to try to change my angle to where I can still see. That's all good and fine. It's good to have that knowledge, but I don't pay attention to settings. I'm going to get some flack for that, but I don't pay attention to settings. It's not a big thing for me. And so that's the extent of my settings, but that's what I wanted to tell you guys. Don't think, I do this while taking a photo, but don't think about it so hard to where you're missing something trying to change the f-stop on your camera, or trying to make sure your shutter speed is exactly 1/1000th of a second so you can freeze exactly every little drop of water. It doesn't matter. Just take the stupid photo. So tiny little rant in there. So that was kind of fun, actually. But number 4 is focus and recompose. I've known, this kind of goes along with settings, I guess. I've known many people to really, really concentrate, I guess, on the amount of focus pixels on their camera and all the focusing dots and everything. They care about all. My camera has 112 focus pixels or whatever. Who cares? I need one. I just want one dot, and that's the center dot, because I focus and recompose. There's been so much stuff about that where, a lot of people don't like it when you focus and recompose. And basically what I mean by that is you focus on something. Maybe you got the center dot in your frame. You focus with just that one dot, and you focus on that. You hold the shutter button down halfway. It focuses, and then you recompose your shot to get a better composition. That is what I do. A lot of people will fiddle with their camera to set the focus on the far left. So when they take a photo, it's automatically in the right composition. And the reason they do that is because if you focus and recompose, it's possible that you can lose focus, and your shot might be a little blurry when it comes to the subject. No one cares. Just focus on your subject and find the best composition. I've had really great photos that I thought were great, and other people apparently thought they were great too, where if you zoom in at 1:1, it's not exactly sharp, but it's sharp enough to where it's still a fantastic photo. Again, I think that goes along with settings. It's not about the settings, it's not about all that junk. It's about capturing the photo, being creative with your photo. I think this Chase Jarvis stuff is rubbing off on me. I don't know what's happening. I'm just trying to be different from everybody else. But all that stuff, just, the camera doesn't matter. I hate to say it, but the camera doesn't matter. It's all about being creative and different. Yeah, that Chase Jarvis stuff is running off on me. So being creative and different, that's the whole thing. So, number 5, I bet you guys are getting tired of hearing this rant. So, number 5, last one, is capture the whole scene and then concentrate on the details. All right, so what I mean by that is when I go to a scene and I want to, start working around getting some cool photos, it's kind of like I'm giving myself a challenge, I guess, where, I'm in a scene, I want to get as many cool photos as I can before I leave. And so what I'm trying to do is capture the whole scene. So what I mean by that is, bust out that wide angle, get the whole scene, in the photo. You're basically working on variety at that point. So get the whole scene in the photo and find what you want the whole photo to look like. Basically, like, find a panorama, basically. Don't be afraid of the whole wide angle thing. Get as much as you can. Then after you're satisfied with all the shots of the whole scene, so let's say you're at a beach somewhere and you want to get all the beach. So bust out that wide angle, get all the beach, get all that you can, find different angles, go up, go high, go low, all that kind of stuff. Find all of that stuff. And then maybe you can do it with your wide angle, maybe not. But maybe take off your wide angle, put on, if you have a macro, if you're lucky enough to have a macro, pop that on. Even if you just have a regular kit lens or a 50 1.8 or something like that, pop that on and then work on details. Work on details of the scenes. What this kind of does is, without knowing, you're kind of creating a photo story of that whole area, because you're getting the whole area so people know where stuff is and that tree was there and all that kind of stuff. And then you get details of what's showing up in the photo. So that's kind of basically what I'm trying to say, is just work on details. Not only will you get the whole scene, but you'll get really cool detail shots, which a lot of people kind of pass up on. So that's a really cool thing to think about. All right, guys, those are the 5 things I do while taking a photo, while working on trying to get some cool shots while I'm out. And so this will lead us to the widget of the week. And the widget of the week is kind of a special one this week, because if you're listening to this, it is a Tuesday, and Tuesday later tonight on Tuesday, I'm actually going to be a guest on one of my favorite podcasts that I listen to, and the podcast is JPEG2Raw. You can find it at JPEG2raw.com. And I'm going to be a guest on that show, and so I believe 8:30 Eastern time, I'll be chatting with the guys over there, and we'll be talking about photography. So they post it on their webpage, jpeg2raw.com. They post it on there, so you can watch the show live, or you can watch it later, or you can subscribe to them and listen to it there. But if you want to come in and join, that's great. If not, no big deal. But I just thought that was kind of cool. I was really looking forward to that. They contacted me a week and a half or so ago. And ever since then, it's just been kind of fun to know I'm going to be a guest on one of the podcasts that I listen to. So that's kind of fun, guys. So if you want to pop over there, just say hi. That's cool. If not, then hopefully you guys can listen to it, because I think it's going to be a fun one. So that's it, guys. That's the podcast for this week. Thank you for joining me in this photography podcast. It's just been it's kind of been a ranty kind of podcast, but I didn't mean for it to come out that way. I really didn't. But thank you for everybody for listening to the podcast. Subscribe on YouTube. Nope, that's not what I meant to say. Subscribe on iTunes. That's where the podcast is. Subscribe there. Please rate the podcast. It really helps out the show, just to try to get a little more exposure so people can find it and have fun with everybody. But yeah, thank you for joining me in this photography podcast. This is Jordan from PictureMonk.com. I'll see you in the next week.